Why do whites have so many varied features? I assume this is a reference to them not having one hair colour.
There is a paper on this published years and years ago. They looked for evidence of what they called the strategic differentiation hypothesis. So that is, if you take a bunch of measures that correlate through life history, is it the case that there is more variability among slower life history populations or slower pace of life populations? To use the new jargon in the behavioural ecology literature. And yes, there is. Among Europeans, there is actually more variability for everything. For behaviour, for appearance. They showed very strong evidence of this. But interestingly enough, this behavioural variability does not map onto genetic variability. Among Europeans, there is in fact much lower genetic variability than among Africans. But a lot of that variability among Africans at the genetic level may be due to the fact that different groups have had to deal with different parasites. Because parasite diversity is much higher in the tropics, so you have much more opportunity for parasites to act as an evolutionary wedge to create ethno-linguistic fractionalization. You end up with more ethnic diversity. The adaptive landscape comes to reflect the parasite load variability and the diversity of parasite species, more so than anything else. But yes, despite lower average genetic diversity among Europeans and Asians, there does seem to be higher behavioural and physiological variation. And the argument put forward is that this is a form of niche splitting. So this is a way you can accommodate higher population densities. If you have high diversity, you have an opportunity for boosting comparative advantage at both the individual and the group level for division of labour and functional specialisation and social role specialisation. And that will lead to a lot of variety arising within the population.
We are also different in terms of sex differences. These kinds of highly niche evolved peoples, like Europeans, they have the biggest sex differences. Whereas those which are not, like sub-Saharan Africans, the sex differences in size and in other factors is actually quite small relatively.
I think it varies from trait to trait. I believe that A.J. Figueiredo put out a paper.
He put out a paper that calculated it overall, and it found that the biggest sex difference, the biggest level of sexual dimorphism, is in Icelandic people, and the smallest is at the equator, which I suppose is what you'd expect.